get started to see which one can be the most retarded. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show. Tinfoil haters, don't tell them what to say. Tinfoil haters are here to save the day. And Sammy are about to get started to see which one can be the most retarded. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show.
And welcome back to another episode of Tinfoil Haters. How are all you vital idols doing? We've got a strange one today. I mean, the nature of the show, they're all strange. But Sammy, have you really heard of any sort of instances or cases like this or anything to that effect?
I mean, I was more familiar with the Watcher case, but I'm actually more intrigued by the Circleville letters, but yeah, I mean, but usually stuff like this is like urban legend. This is we got some, but apparently not.
Yeah, exactly. This is one of those things that no, this is 100% real. This isn't even a conspiracy theory. I mean, there's gonna be theories about who did this, and we're doing a twofer for night. For those of you that don't know, if you're not familiar, the Circleville letters and the Watcher are two different stories, but they're very similar to one another. And there's gonna be theories about the outcome, the people involved. This isn't a conspiracy. Everything we're about to go over is fact and true and did happen. Before we get into any of that, Circleville, my other lovely co-host, tell people who you are and what you do. You're muted.
Oh my goodness.
Every time.
Without fail, it feels like. But hey, cuties, I am Circleville. I like to cover anime and gaming news on the occasion, or just gaming in general. And I really do like looking at all this horror and supernatural. And yes, I am excited to be here today.
Excellent. And Sammy, of course, my partner in crime, my co-host, who's normally up top and is not right now because of the goddamn StreamYard having a glitch. Sorry, buddy. Tell the people who you are and what you do.
I'm Sammy 3Pete. I'm a Detroit-based musician, and I like to cover the news, and I like to talk about Batman. And if you like any of those things, you should go on my Twitter and give it a look-see.
Bingo, bango, bongo. Let's go ahead before we get into the story, before we get into the conspiracies, before we get into the theories and all the whole nine. We have a surprise Mrs. 3Pete in the house. How you doing, Mama 3Pete? Anyway, as I was saying, let's go ahead and say hey to the chat. We got Peepers in here. Titty Kitty first. How's it going, panel and chat? Sent that 2 hours before there was a panel or a chat. Sir James Nameless is here. How you doing, Nameless? Little Miss Anonymous saying meow to y'all. The ever lovely Piranha Pout is here. Who else we got? Jalozy is in the house. Holler with NASA's nerds. Oh, tonight we're getting nerdy about true crime, not the traditional stuff. Let's see. Holler with Naz. Paul Byersmith, the IRL Bessie. How you doing, Paul? Bumwood Collecting says hello there. Truly appreciate you, FWC. Thank you so much. FWC. Want to make sure I got that right. Sammy, of course, in the chat talking with you guys. Jim Reviews Review made it just in time. That you did. Mrs. 3Pete is here. Sammy is the most retarded. I mean, you ain't gonna hear me argue too terribly much. Stony Kenobi, you're new. I appreciate that. Or if you're not new, you've changed your name. Stony Kenobi. I like that one. QJ is in the house. Alice in Blunderland is here. Thank you so much, Alice. Truly appreciate you showing up. Rabnad Scubala, Jake Martin. Haters gathered here. We go on Miss Pouty, Nadia, Cinny, Paul, and Incomparable. I did not see uncomfortable. FWC, Ryan, Little Miss, QJ, basically just naming off everybody like I did. Ryan is here. Thank you so much, Ryan. Wylerin of Bly is also in the house. Molly Cottle, Circleville letters. Oh, so you're familiar with the Circleville letters. Interesting. Benji Alicard, Leon Senvere, and Sammy 3 Pete's. It's up to you, good sir. Is there anybody? Oh, Jake Martin. You absolute legend. My man with a plan. You did not need to, but you did. Coming in hot. Pre-stream legend. Well, not really pre-stream, but very early in the stream. Let's go ahead and give you your clip, good sir.
Chip, you know what? You just made the list.
Oh, no. Oh, here we go.
And, of course, we got Luna City dropping a 10 banger. Special shout out to Fish. Pete was such a good friend. He made sure into the Cinevere. Oh, all right. Come on now.
Hey,
fuck all
let's
that nonsense.
keep the drama to like yourself, Lunar.
Yeah, we're not starting this shit on our show here. Okay, that ain't cool. And then Dragon Master, we're at 5 Words of Paradise giving memberships coming in hot. Thank you so much for making us ignore that. Truly appreciate you. Let's get you your clip as well.
I just super love sucking dick. When I haven't for a while, I get needy.
Bingo, bango, bongo. Dragon Master, you didn't need to. You did. It means the world to me. Alrighty, guys. Let's set the stage. I'm gonna propose a question to you because Sammy, you have an idea of what these are about. You did some research a lot throughout the day along with me. Cinevere, these are both completely new to you, are they not? Circleville letters and the Watcher.
I actually know nothing about this.
Which one are we starting with?
I figure we should probably start with the Circleville letters first, since that happened first. Those took place in the 70s. What do you think?
Nice.
Hey, Fat Roller, how you doing? Broke Black Mountain. We're all white here. Well, Cindy's Asian, but 2 whites and an Asian. We are a yellow Oreo. Anyway, so yes, let me propose a scenario to you, Cindy. Loving, you're part of a loving, happy couple. Maybe you got kids. Maybe you just moved in somewhere. Maybe you got a dog. Point is, you live in the American dream. You move into a home, and you start getting letters. Letters full of personal information. No return address. No handwriting you recognize.
I do
far
know
as
this
you're aware,
case.
This is 2 separate ones. But yes, handwriting you don't recognize. No return address. No enemies, as far as you know. So who could be doing this to you? What would you do in this situation?
Well, I would buy like a lot of locks and probably another gun.
Yeah, girl.
Well, neither instance was applied here, although there will be guns involved in one of them. Yes, we were going to start with the Circleville letters. We've got a couple of interesting things to go over. This is, I mean, it's an unsolved and yet also solved case. This is very much a case of law enforcement, in my opinion, not doing their job properly. Seriously, Zax, how you doing, brother? I truly appreciate you, man. And I can't wait to get your thoughts on this. So first, we're just going to read through the story. Inside the eerie mystery of the Circleville letters that terrorized an Ohio town for nearly 20 years. Starting in the late 1970s, the anonymous Circleville letters were sent to hundreds of residents, local businesses, government offices, and others, threatening to reveal the recipient's darkest secrets or worse. Now, this is the 70s, like they're saying. I was curious about Circleville, so I looked it up. Currently, they have a population of 14,500 people. So, not exactly a big town. Very small town. However, back in the 70s, it was even smaller. Not by much, but 11,500. 11,500 people. These are slightly bigger than the towns I grew up in. I grew up in towns of, about 2,000 people to 7,000 people at various points in my life. Did either of you guys grow up in like small towns like these, or?
Oh yeah, similar actually. About 3,000 people. Similar to you, I should say. About 3,000 people was like the lowest.
Nope.
Always been in Detroit. Always been in the big city, Sammy.
I mean, just outside of it, suburbs, but either way,
So you've never, have you ever like understood or been in an extended period of time in sort of the idyllic small Americana town? Like what?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's towns like that where I had relatives like out in like Chesterfield and Romeo, where it's much smaller. It was like you got little mom and pop shops instead of,
right.
everybody knows everybody.
And
Doors
and
unlocked.
exactly, everybody knows everybody, and this is that sort of town. Everybody knows everybody. Again, we're talking in 30 years, it has grown by 3,000 people. We're like they get what is that 1,000 people every 10 years?
Yeah. Well, I was watching, like I said, I watched the Dateline on this one. So like their big claim to fame is they have a this is how small town this place is. They have a pumpkin celebration during like harvest season, and so much so that their water tower of the town is painted like a pumpkin. So like that's some small town
cute.
shit.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's adorable.
So, well, this here is an image, and we've got more images of some of the letters sent. We'll go over them, but everyone knows what you have done, and it was written, stylized just like this. In fact, several letters were. I mean, they all came from the same person. However, some of them have very distinctly different writing because, well, I assume the individual wanted to make it hard to track. I've been observing your house, read the anonymous letter Mary Gillispie received in 1977, and I know you have children. Stay away from Massey, the letter ordered. Somehow someone knew that Mary Gillispie was having an affair with Superintendent Gordon Massey. And Gillispie, a local bus driver, wasn't the only one receiving threatening letters. Across Circleville, Ohio, residents found anonymous letters in their mailboxes. So did elected officials and local papers. What did the Circleville letters want, and how far would the letter writer go? Now, there's all sorts of letters they went to so many people, but it seemed to really fixate and focus on the Gillispie family. That's where that's what the crux of this is, the heart of this is, and everybody else was more it was just like taunting them. The letters to Ron Gillispie. Not long after Mary Gillispie received a letter exposing her affair, which, by the way, the husband didn't believe. It did end up turning out true, but he didn't believe it. The wife denied it, the whole nine.
Oh, and by the way, I'm doing some my own private research here. Mary Gillispie, she's a baddie for the time.
Yeah, she's a good-looking gal. This is back in the 70s when driving a bus was, you probably paid relatively well. You could live on that shit between her and her husband.
Yeah, so I was like, this is a well-to-do young couple in the town. So that's
And again, we're talking a town where everybody knows everybody. You be caught having an affair with the superintendent, you a bus driver, like that's that's the talk of the town. Everyone's gonna be going to the salon and talking about that, or the pool hall, or whatever it may be.
Oh yeah,
it's also hard for
it's
hard for people to imagine now because we have so much entertainment at our fingertips. Back then, people were bored.
Oh yeah, town gossip was way bigger than they would have like conference calls.
I mean, not too different than what we're doing, to be fair, but we're doing it all from different parts of the country. But yes, I give it time. We're talking about town gossip from 30, 40 fucking years ago.
Yes.
Dragon Match with that 10 banger super sticker. It is a cheering lemon. You love to see it. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and get you your clip.
I can blow.
Oh, you ready to blow?
Yeah, I'm ready to blow.
Well, I'm a mushroom cloud laying motherfucker. Every time my fingers touch brain, I'm Superfly TNT. I'm the guns of the Navarone.
Alrighty, so back to the story at hand. So, not long after Mary Gillispie received a letter exposing her affair, her husband Ron began getting mail of his own. Mr. Gillispie, your wife is seeing Gordon Massey. One of the Circleville letters read, "You should catch them together and kill them both. He doesn't deserve to live." And let's see, this is the letter. I've got a few of the letters here. But do I have a bigger? Yes, okay, I've got a bigger version of this one. All right, so this is the handwriting. Very, deliberate, very difficult to read, even not on a screen.
It almost looks stenciled.
Yeah. And so you were talking about, you know what? We're jumping ahead of ourselves because you and I were talking backstage about this, but so that you guys have an idea of what these are looking like. Don't lie when questioned about meeting I'm not sure who about M. So Massey, I know where you were. I've been observing your house and know what you have. I know that you have children. It's so difficult to read. This is no
Yeah.
joke. Please take it seriously. Everyone concerned has been notified, and everything will be over soon.
Well,
So
when
again-
we get into speculation, the writing becomes a very, very big point of contention. But I'll save that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm right there with you. And the Dragon Master for another 5-banger. How you do? Okay, what's this one? Let's see. We got it's a Shiba Inu giggling again. Adorable. You love to see it. Thank you so much, Dragon Master. We'll get you one more clip here. Here we go. Animal friend. Bingo, bango, bongo. Alrighty, what we got here? Okay, so back to the matter at hand. Let's zoom in a little bit for you guys so you can see this. The small town of Circleville, a half hour outside Columbus, did not seem like a place where neighbors terrorized each other, yet the anonymous letters targeted multiple residents of the town of 12,000. This attack on Mary Gillispie seemed the most personal. Gillispie, you've had 2 weeks and done nothing, one letter to Ron read. Admit the truth and inform the school board. If not, I will broadcast it on CBS, posters, signs, and billboards until the truth comes out. And then, August 7th, on August evening, 1977, a phone rang at the Gillispie house. Ron picked up. Moments later, Gillispie stormed out to his truck with a .22 caliber revolver in hand, told his daughter that he was going to confront the Circleville letter writer. After he left, Gillespie's truck slid off the road, rammed into a tree. Ron Gillispie died at the scene. So, Sydney, as somebody who is not familiar with this, what are your thoughts up to this point?
I actually do remember the case a little bit. Like I watched some, God, I can't remember, but I don't know. This is interesting. I don't remember.
Well, the question is, how did he find out who the letter writer was? I mean, did the guy tell him on the phone? We're never going to know, right?
Right. Well, I mean, he's dead. He wouldn't be able to answer that one.
Sammy?
Another thing that was interesting about him, it was noted that he wasn't a drinker. And when he was found, there was like copious amounts of alcohol in his system. They think somebody drugged him.
Interesting. I don't think that was listed in this article here that I've got, so that's a good bit of information. The local coroner ruled Gillespie's death an accident, but Paul Freshour, Ron's brother-in-law, considered it murder. Before he died, Ron Gillispie confront the person. Did Ron Gillispie confront the person behind the Circleville letters? Police determined that Gillespie's gun had been fired exactly once before his death. They never learned why Ron fired his weapon. So again, we're to assume he did confront the guy, find the guy. I mean, why else would he have shot the gun? I was asking a question, but I guess no answers.
No, I'm sorry. I got distracted by blue collar.
Wait,
You got a super.
Leon, for 199, Leon, sorry I drunk tested you. Blame Sammy. I don't even remember the drunk text unless you're trying to make a joke. But by all means, I get drunk texts from my friends all the time. So that being said, you do drink a lot, buddy.
Stop it. Get some help.
There we go. That's for you, BCL. So yeah, why else would he have fired his weapon if not, having confronted the Circleville letter writer?
I mean, frustration. Could have just.
Wait, didn't-
What, you think this man just fired his gun one time into the ether for nothing?
Yeah, why not? Who knows? Your wife's
I mean,
fucking
it's
the
Ohio,
superintendent. No, I mean, no. The whole thing's mysterious, and like I said, they interviewed plenty of people around that house. This man was not known to be a drinker. I think the guy said I was going to be here, set him up, and who knows? Maybe they poured a bunch of alcohol down his throat, like why he was laying down. Doesn't explain. Or maybe he wrecked his car. They set up something in the road.
Wasn't the circumstance that he got a letter at home, talked to his wife about it or whatever, and then left? Is that what happened?
He got so they'd been receiving these letters. Then he got a phone call while he was home with his daughter.
Oh,
and
okay.
the phone call is what set him off.
So
So
yeah,
those-
it sounds like a bait.
Yeah, I mean, and there's going to be a good reason it sounds like a bait once we get a little bit further in the story here. Even after Ron Gillespie's death, the circle letters were continued to arrive, and they continued to target Mary Gillispie. not now a widow, and Gordon Massey. Everyone knows what you've done, the letters taunted. If you don't believe us, just make them mad and find out for yourself. And he says, if you don't believe us. Who is us?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I wonder if they put us as a kind of like a smoke screen. Make you paranoid to believe that there's more than just one.
Oh my God, there's so much I have to get into once we finally get to the end.
Yeah, no, I agree. That the end of this is very interesting. The attacks grew even more devious. Years after Ron's death in 1983, Mary Gillispie nearly fell into a failed trap. One February day, Gillispie stopped her bus on the way to the school. Someone had put a handmade sign on a nearby fence targeting her teenage daughter. Gillispie tried to pull down the sign, but it was tied to a box. After she brought the box home, Gillispie opened it to find a loaded gun inside. And here's the evidence photo. Let's go ahead and just make this a little bit bigger.
Why does it look
gun
like a drum?
tied to his, maybe, well, no, because you got the hand here.
I know, but it looks like a drawing still. That box is wild.
Yeah, I think this is because, old camera from the 70s and whatnot, black and white. Because this isn't a drawing so far as I can tell.
Wait, no, that's marker on there.
Yeah, well, no, the marker right here.
No, on the box. Look, that's marker. It's bleeding through.
You're saying like they blacked out the box?
Yeah, it's bleeding through.
Okay, I get what you're saying now. I hadn't picked up on that. Yeah, I think you're right now that I look at it like that. Okay. And yeah, you've got the gun with string tied to it. So if the box had been open the way, at least I assume the way it worked, if the box was open the way it was intended, blow, and Mary Gillispie is no more. The gun gave the authorities a break in the case. The Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation was able to recover a serial number from the weapon, and the gun belonged to Paul Freshour, the man married to Ron Gillispie's sister. So this is the guy that was saying that Ron was murdered, that the crashed truck was murder. Paul Freshour, the man accused of attempted murder. Paul Freshour's wife, Karen Sue, such a fucking Midwest name, confessed to police that her husband had written the Circleville letters. The couple had been in the middle of a contentious divorce, and Karen Sue had evidence. She discovered letters hidden throughout the house. Freshour denied writing the letters. He claimed the gun had been stolen weeks earlier, yet a polygraph test declared Freshour a liar. Sammy, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, this is the 70s where they would still arrest you over a polygraph. It's not admissible in court. One thing that I do want to bring up is, so Paul Freshour, he was very close with the Gillespies, and then after the said affair, he got really, they said he was really rageful about it, and because all their families knew each other and everything, and they said he got more mad than you would be, if one, I think we've all had friends where you're friends with a couple and then one cheats on the other, and you're mad at the guy, right? It was but you're not oh my God, this is unacceptable, I'm gonna do something. But now granted, it's a different time, but yeah, no, the whole thing's fishy. He did say that the gun was stolen. He said that weeks before. One thing that I wanted to point out is Karen Sue said she found these letters, but she didn't say anything about it until the police questioned her. That's important to know.
Yeah, she never came forward to the police with this. Exactly. She didn't go to the cops. She didn't present them the letter. But if I recall, she didn't even have any letters in her possession, right?
No, she did not. The whole thing about the letters is complete hearsay from her. Also, you can fail a polygraph test if you're excited.
Yeah, all it really does is measure heartbeat and stuff like that,
yes.
Right? And whether you're innocent or guilty, if you're being questioned by the cops, odds are you're going to be in a heightened state.
Yeah, especially about people that who one of them recently tragically killed. Yeah, you're going to be in a very heightened state. So, But that sadly that was enough to get arrested in 77.
Well, yeah. Could you imagine all kinds of the superstitions and misinformation that's being spread around just because of, the fear that they're experiencing?
Oh yeah, and a small
Especially in
town,
a small town like this.
yeah, in a small
Yeah.
town, absolutely. And like we said earlier, it's not like these are isolated incidents. There are a ton of these letters circulating around the town, and it's not the Gillespies are just, and the Masseys, they're just a couple of the recipients.
Well, yeah,
Other
so
people are
the-
getting
yeah,
these
these
too.
these letters are going to so many people, but the Gillespies and the Masseys seem to be the targets.
Yes, the main
there's
ones.
other people getting these letters being like, "Oh, we know that you know about the Gillespies," or everything always tied back to them.
Or other things where just nasty, vitriolic, hey, you're a piece of shit, cut your lawn. Stuff like stuff like that. Stuff, very antagonistic. But whoever is doing this is definitely targeting these particular people, but they're sending it. They said by the time like the last letter was out, hundreds of these letters had been mailed. So it's not only is it psychotic, but it is almost hard to believe that only one person did it. And it's going to be even harder to believe that one person did it as we move forward.
Agreed. But before we move forward, a couple more chats have come in. We got Alice in Blunderland saying, bingo, mango, bongo. Damn, Leon, you got me saying it now. I've caught Foxy Moxie unironically saying it. Is like her and I will literally be talking, hanging out, whatnot, and then she'll say bingo. She'll be like, God damn it, Leon. Say, yep. Yeah, it's infected people, and I'm infectious. Thank you so much for the 5. And then Janice Landers coming in with a 10-banger super sticker of a Shiba Inu waving around fans. You'll love to see it. Thank you guys both so much. Let's go ahead. Let's get you a clip here. You know what? I think this is this is a good one.
Y'all can clip me all you want. I think Alyssa McConaughey has a nice ass, but I guarantee you she doesn't shave her armpits. So I'm good.
All right, let's get back to the story. Police arrested Freshour in 1984. A jury convicted him of attempted murder. During the trial, an expert witness testified that Freshour had written the Circleville letters. Circleville residents hoped that with Freshour behind the bars, the letters would stop, but they didn't. By the way, this expert witness was the wife, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it his ex-wife, Karen Sue?
The one who just got through a very contentious divorce.
Yeah.
And which, by the way, in this divorce, she, and keep in mind, this is in 77. She lost the house and custody of 2 of the children.
Holy shit. How bad was she for that to happen back in the day?
When she testified against this dude and things went the way they did, she got all that shit back.
Yep. They also had, because I don't remember if the I don't remember if the article covers this or not. This is something I found in my own research, and Sammy, I know you did as well. They brought somebody in to verify the handwriting of the letters, compared it to Paul Freshour's and the actual writing of the letters here. No one writes like this fucking naturally. How can you say, and the handwriting expert testified, yeah, it was definitely him. I'm sorry. This is not someone's natural fucking handwriting. So if you're saying, hey, write a letter like this.
He said that maybe it could be him, but maybe it could be like other people whose handwriting. Why? Because yes, this looks like it's stenciled. It looks like someone used a straight edge or had some sort of like reference. There is a couple of things too that they noticed, like moving on, is there's particular things. Actually, I can't see it in this. It's only when they do numbers. But yeah, this. I mean, this could be this. This looks like every like 7th graders, like the back of their notebook. Like, they're
right.
They.
Dude, didn't we all draw that famous S when we were in 6th grade?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
So this one says, please let's keep writer happy. You have been watched. Failure to comply, and you shall suffer. No one can help. No one can protect you. Obey, obey. Get Mr. Massey elected to some type of office, or you will surely, surely. I don't know what that one is. I can't tell.
Or
It looks
you
like
will surely
oh,
pay.
pay. It's a P. Thank you. Pay. Yep. And to and the town of Circleville shall to it's which is the wrong two, by the way. It's on you, I assume now.
Okay,
Yeah, you've been
so
watched.
here's something. Now's any good enough time to bring it up. So, a lot of these things that you'll notice about these letters are very like rudimentary, like spelling errors.
Mm-hmm.
And like if you look, can you scroll up to the one where it was on loose leaf? One of the letters.
Actually,
where,
hold on, I've this one right here.
there, yes, very much looks like how it does when you are in elementary school. Very like learning how to do your letters, like it's the
You have to
top hat.
match the up with the lines. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't think that this was a very educated person.
Yeah, I mean, again, the multiple spelling errors just in that one we went over. Yeah.
Well, multiple spelling errors, the giant lettering. What's his face? The guy who got arrested.
Freshour.
He was
Paul
the
Freshour.
Yeah, he was the manager of the of his work, and he had a master's degree. This
Okay,
is not-
see that I didn't know. So he probably ain't using the wrong fucking two.
He's definitely not one who'd be doing that. This guy had a.
Unless it's to throw people off his trail.
Well, there's other
Now-
things too about. Okay.
Yeah, we're about to get into it. So Cinevere, you're on the right train of
You're
thought
so
until
there.
we get to this new bit of information. A new suspect in the Circleville letters. Who hated Paul enough to try and get him in trouble? Freshour's lawyer asked to the jury during the trial. If you read the divorce decree, who stands to profit financially if Paul is convicted and goes to prison? When the Circleville letters continued, suspicion centered on ex-wife Karen Sue. They kept coming. After he's convicted and once he's in prison, the letters keep coming.
Yep, and the warden said it's impossible. We have barred him from using pen and paper, and
Yup.
we monitor any thing that he is allowed to mail and any mail he gets going in. So it would be impossible.
She had reported her husband to the police. Did Karen Sue and her boyfriend, who matched the witness description from the booby trap crime scene, set up Paul Freshour? And here's where something else comes into play. An upstanding citizen. So remember how Mary Gillispie was driving the bus to the school, and then she found the booby trap, right?
Yes.
Supposedly, yeah.
Okay. Another citizen, completely unrelated to any of this, testified that he saw somebody he did not recognize who was not Paul Freshour at the location where the booby trap was set up prior to the booby trap being set up, just on the side of the road, basically.
Like 2 hours before.
Yeah, two-ish hours prior. So we've already got, at least in my opinion, reasonable doubt that Paul was involved in any of this.
Well, now it gets so. Did you get any what the man was described?
No, I don't know if that's in this one. So if you've got that, take it.
Yeah. He was a taller man with sandy hair. Freshour.
Like yours?
Yeah.
Well,
kind of.
Sammy is not tall, but yes.
Yeah, I am not tall.
No, I'm talking about his hair.
Yeah, no, lighter like mine. Freshour was a stout man with very, very dark hair, and what's his name? Karen Sue, her new boyfriend, just happens to be a tall man with sandy hair. And then something that they didn't bring up is they believe he was driving an El Camino. Well, guess who has no one that came to mind had an El Camino in that town but Karen Sue's brother.
Actually, you know what? Ryan has a valid point here. He says, didn't recognize someone from a small town. That's valid.
Yeah. But the only guy in the town who had an El Camino was Karen Sue's brother.
And yet, somehow, homie takes the fall. Paul Freshour goes to prison. So a decade passed, the Circleville letters mystery only grew. In December 1993, when Unsolved Mysteries came to Circleville to investigate, now mind you, Paul is still in prison at this point. It's been 20 years-ish. It's been about 10 years, actually.
Yeah,
the show also received an anonymous letter. Forget Circleville, Ohio. If you've come to Ohio, you El Sickos will pay. It was signed the Circleville writer. Speaking with Unsolved Mysteries, Paul Freshour begged the show to look deeper. I'd really like to see someone really look at this case. On the letters. Reopen the letter part of it and get and find out who wrote the letters. Then, in 1994, the same year Freshour was released from prison on parole, the letters mysteriously stopped arriving in Circleville mailboxes. So the entire duration of him being in prison, the letters continue. In fact, there are letters that taunt, if I recall, like the police and whatnot, saying that it wasn't Paul. Go for it.
Oh, and meanwhile, Paul, after he gets out on parole after a decade, he goes around asking people around town to see if they have any letters, takes the letters to the FBI going, like, I didn't do this. Can we please find who did? When Unsolved Mysteries came, Karen Sue basically said, anyone who was, they wanted to question, hey, it wouldn't be good for you if you, did this. Don't take the interviews, nothing. And then they said she sat in her car in the street, and anyone who walked in to go get interviewed, she took their picture.
That I was not familiar with. That's an interesting addendum to the story. I was getting confused with the Watcher House letters. If you were referring to the Netflix show or whatever streaming show it was, that is the second story we're covering tonight, where you see the Watcher. These are two separate stories we're covering in the same episode. The Watcher is a famous enough case. It did get some sort of streaming show attached, like based on it a couple of years ago. But it is
they
a
just
true
sold
story.
the rights to it, and I think it was 2021.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
So this letter, at least part of what we see here, says, "Lady, this is your last chance to report him. I know you are a pig and will prove it and shame you out of Ohio. A pig sneaks around and meets other women's, and then no idea. Who wrote the Circleville letters? Paul Freshour went to his grave swearing that he did not write the letters, but a recent forensic examination revealed similarities between his handwriting and the anonymous letters. Decades after the final letters, the writer's identity has never been conclusively proved. The local sheriff's office closed the case, and the mystery of the Circleville letters may never be solved."
Man, so that guy went to jail for 10 years for something he didn't do, and no one believed him.
Well, I mean, it's unconclusive as to whether he did or not, but yeah, I mean, it seems as such. So this is him. This is Paul Freshour. This is his mugshot.
Mm-hmm.
Based on all the info we have, I'm in the camp that this dude didn't do it, and he lost 9 years of his life. But by the way, he died in 2012, I believe, and one of the last things he ever recorded for an interview about this was that I didn't do it. I never did it. And this legend is going to live on long after my death, and people are going to always assume it was me, and I'm never going to get justice.
Yep, pretty much. I don't keep meaning to point fingers at the wife. There are other people who may have done it, but also they don't talk that. They had 3 kids. They had 2 daughters and a son. The son commits suicide. And there's a lot of skepticism that because he very much, Karen Sue was kind of like, hey, you're either going to be my son or you're going to be his son, or my child or his child. She was very anti having a relationship with the dad. So he kills himself. There's a lot of speculation that he's the one who stole the gun.
Oh, I did read about that. I forgot that. Yeah, that's right.
That's why he failed the polygraph. is because he wasn't going
He
to rat
didn't want
out
to
his
give up
own
his
son.
son. So yeah. Ron knew his son was the one that stole the gun, but he was not going to give that up. So he's like, oh, it was stolen, but he didn't want to admit that it was his son that did it, right?
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
I forgot about that part of the story. Ron himself, by the way, but this is what, if nothing else, should have got him exonerated and got him out of prison, it should have been this right here. This was a letter he received in prison. Freshour. Now, when are you going to believe you aren't getting out of there? I told you 2 years ago, when you set them up, they stay set up. Don't you listen at all? No one wants you out. No one wants you out. No one. The joke is on you. Ha ha. Tell no one of this letter. I saw the paper. Great news. Great. The sheriff loved it. Ha ha. Do you believe it now? Do you? He received a fucking Circleville letter while in prison.
Yeah.
But that could have been staged, I'm sure, is their thought process.
And that is exactly what was said, was that he could have set up letters to be mailed out even after he was caught. That is
For
how
10 years?
For 10 fucking years.
When did he have time to write those, I wonder?
Yeah, no, they threw the book at this guy. Like I said, they should have been able to throw it out where when you have the handwriting expert going, well, do you think it could have been him? And they were like, well, possibly, but it could have been anybody. It was like, who writes in a box style like this? That it's particularly designed to make the handwriting hard to track. Like that was the point. There is one point of contention through these letters, is that Paul would make a specific error when he would he would draw his threes in specific ways, and they're also that way in the letters whenever there's the three. If you were in a small town, you might know that about somebody.
I was about to say, because this dude, the letter writer, knew all these dirty secrets about a bunch of different people.
Yeah. But I either way, I was like, there's never been a better example of reasonable doubt than this poor bastard.
Right.
But that leads us to the second case, which is far more recent. So the Circleville letters end in 94. Never a letter ever sent again. It's as if once Paul got out, the guy, girl, whoever was doing this, knew to fucking stop. Now, this is also when forensic science, things like that, started making big leaps. Started getting big leaps in forensic science in the 90s. DNA testing, things like that. I don't know if that has to do with it or not. It's just sort of speculation on my end.
Yeah, that's another thing too. So there was a couple of letters. They said that Paul's fingerprints were on them. Those were the ones that he gave to the FBI. So
wait, really?
Yeah, so of course, but they ran DNA tests, and they believed that, because keep in mind this is early in DNA testing, they didn't know much, but they believe that the majority of those letters were written by a woman.
Well, and okay, that's right. I do remember. I do remember reading that. Also, even if his fingerprints were on them, it was his family being targeted. Like Paul Freshour, Ron Gillispie was his brother-in-law. They were close friends. Like, why wouldn't Ron have shared those with him? Oh, they both take a look at it. Like,
well, no, I'm saying this was what the FBI found, and
I'm just saying that.
So
I'm
if
sure
I walk up to you
fingerprints
and
on it.
hand you something and go, "Can you analyze this?" You probably shouldn't go, "Well, your fingerprints are on it." Well, it's like, well, yeah,
Like, no
dipshit,
shit,
I
I
just
gave
gave
it
it
to
to you. What are you talking about?
Again, these letters went to hundreds of people and hundreds of government offices and all over the town. Well, not hundreds of government offices, but like hundreds of people in these government offices. There's gonna be a bunch of people's fingerprints on this bitch. Someone's got some audio shit. I think that's you.
Why? My mic is just screwing up. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it sounds like there's like a train passing by you or something. You sound good now.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna start crashing soon.
That would be a problem. Well, if it does, by all means, just hop back in when you can, if we're still going, things like that. And then we got this case, The Watcher. Now, you thought that previous story was creepy because you're getting these letters. No one to this day knows where they came from. They're all personal. It's still, probably somebody who had like intimate knowledge of what was going on. Somebody wanted to set up Paul Freshour. That was very much someone scorned who was in their life, right?
Yes.
I imagine that's what we all kind of come to the conclusion of, is that it was somebody related, not necessarily blood related, but somebody who had intimate knowledge of the Freshours, of the Gillispies, things of that effect. It was close to the families. This one is not.
No.
This one, oh, buddy, you boys, girls, strap the fuck in. We're about to start talking about The Watcher of, what is it, 356 Boulevard? Is that the address? I don't remember.
It's something.
We'll get into it.
657 Boulevard.
657 Boulevard. Cindy's gonna restart her computer while Sammy and I go over this. Y'all want to be making sure that you lock in your doors and shit when we're all said and done. This is a long one, by the way. We in for the long haul now. We ain't wrapping in no 1 hour with this one.
No way.
The Watcher. A family bought their dream house, but according to creepy letters they started to get, they weren't the only ones interested in it. One night in June 2014, Derek Brodus had finished an evening of painting at his new home in Westfield, New Jersey. When he went outside to check the mail, Derek and his wife, Maria, had closed on the 6-bedroom house at 657 Boulevard 3 days earlier. We're doing some renovations before they moved in. There wasn't much in the mail except for a few bills, a white card-shaped envelope that addressed a thick, clunky handwriting that the new owner, and a typed note inside began warmly. Now, unlike the last story where they were all handwritten, the only handwriting on going forward with this story is on the envelopes themselves. The letters are typed, so you're not going to get any sort of, oh, it could have been this person based on handwriting.
No, there's the sign off. There's the signature at the end.
Oh, that's true. The guy does sign it, the Watcher. You're right. Thank you for correcting that, Sammy.
Got you, baby.
Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. For the Broduses, buying 657 Boulevard had fulfilled a dream. Maria was raised in Westfield, and the house was a few blocks from her childhood home. Derek grew up working class in Maine, then moved his way up the ladder at an insurance company in Manhattan to become a senior vice president with a salary large enough to afford the $1.3 million house. The Broduses had bought 657 Boulevard just after Derek celebrated his 40th birthday, and their 3 kids were already debating which of the house's fireplaces Santa Claus would use. By the way, it's a beautiful house. We got another picture of it. I mean,
yeah, no, it is a gorgeous house.
This is 1.3 million. This is a gorgeous house. That way you guys have a frame of reference for Derek and Maria. This is what they look like.
1.3 million, but it's also like one of the most affluent neighborhoods in New Jersey. A lot of rich people who work in New York live here.
Right.
Because this is another just an affluent neighborhood.
By the way, bringing up it's an affluent neighborhood is very important to to resolution, for lack of a better word, of this story, because it's going to take a very annoying political turn. And I don't mean political in terms of like vote this, vote that. I mean like small town politics.
Yes.
As Derek kept reading the letter from his new neighbor, it took a turn. Now, we're just gonna read the letter right here. How'd you end up here? The writer asked. If 57 Boulevard called to you from its force within. So, 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now, and as it approaches its 110th birthday, I've been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s. My father watched in the 1960s, and it's now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out.
Spoiler alert, it was Vincent Price. Vincent Price did it. Do you know what lies behind those walls?
Is he friend of the channel?
Friend of the channel, Vincent Price.
What do you do if you get a letter like this? Like, you haven't moved in yet. Do you ignore it? Do you think it's a prank? Like, what's your call?
I would move forward. I would definitely lock the doors and monitor the situation, but like I don't know. People do weird shit. It might be like some weird hazing thing, like
Right? Yeah, teenagers been playing whatever. The author's reconnaissance had apparently already begun. The letter identified the Bros' Honda minivan as well as the workers renovating the home. I already see that you flooded 657 Boulevard with contractors so you can destroy the house as it's supposed to be, the person wrote. Bad move. You don't want to make 657 Boulevard unhappy. Earlier in the week, Derek and Maria had gone to the house and chatted with their new neighbors while their children, who were 5, 8, and 10 years old, ran around the backyard with several kids from the neighborhood. The letter writer seemed to have noticed. You have children. I've seen them. So far, I think there are 3 that I have counted, the anonymous correspondent wrote before asking if there were more on the way. Do you need to fill the house with young blood? Do you need to fill the house with the young blood? I requested. Better for me. Was your old house too small for the growing family, or was it greed to bring me your children? Once I know their names, I will call to them and draw them to me. The envelope had no return address. Who am I? The person wrote. There are hundreds and hundreds of cars that drive by 657 Boulevard each day. Maybe I'm one. Look at all the windows you can see from 657 Boulevard. Maybe I'm in one. Look out at the many windows in 657 Boulevard at the people who stroll by each day. Maybe I am one. The last letter concluded with a suggestion that his message would not be the last. Welcome, my friends. Welcome, let the party begin. Followed by a signature typed in cursive font. Oh, okay, so it was typed, but it was but the font changed. The Watcher. Okay. Sounds like a very angry homo member. Yes, homeowners association. Yes, homos. Maybe that's the thing. There's a lot that goes into the politics of this particular property as we get into the story. It's very strange. It's coming from inside the house that actually you're not far off either.
No.
It was after 10 p.m. and Derek Broaddus was alone. He raced around the house, turning off lights so no one could see inside, then called the Westfield Police Department. An officer came to the house, read the letter, and said, "What the fuck is this?" He asked Derek if he had enemies and recommended moving a piece of construction equipment from the back porch just in case the Watcher tried to toss it through the window. Derek rushed back to his wife and kids who were living in their old home elsewhere in Westfield. That night, Derek and Maria wrote an email to John and Andrea Woods, the couple who sold them the 657 Boulevard, to ask if they had any idea who the Watcher might be or why he or she had written. I asked the Woods to bring me young blood, and it looks like they listened. I mean, that's another thing that's in the letters. Andrea Wood replied the next morning. A few days before moving out, the Woods had also received a letter from the Watcher. The note had been odd, she said, and made similar mention of the Watcher's family observing the house over time, but Andrea said she and her husband had never received anything like it in their 23 years in the house and had thrown the letter away without much thought. That day, the Woodses went with Maria to the police station, where Detective Leonard Lugo told her not to tell anyone about the letters, including her new neighbors, most of whom she never met. All of them were now suspects. The brothers spent the coming weeks on high alert. Derek canceled a work trip, and whenever Maria took the kids to their new house, she would yell their names if they wandered into the corner. If they wandered into the corner of the yard. When Derek gave a tour of the renovation to a couple of the blocks, he froze when his wife said, "It'll be nice to have some young blood in the neighborhood." The Bros' general contractor. So yeah, there's a couple that said that. Again, that's the lingo that's in the letter. The Bros' general contractor arrived one morning to find the heavy signing hammered in the yard had been ripped out overnight. 2 weeks after the letter arrived, Maria stopped by the house to look back at some paint samples and check the mail. She recognized the thick black lettering on a card-shaped envelope and called the police. "Welcome again to your new home in 657 Boulevard," the Watcher wrote. "The workers have been busy, and I've been watching you unload carfuls of your personal belongings. The dumpster's a nice touch. Have they found what is in the walls yet? In time, they will."
The more you read this, it does feel like it's just some kid screwing with them, right? Like
these first few aren't insanely personal yet. I mean, okay, counting the kids, but again, you're meeting with people in the neighborhood, things like that.
Yeah, I could find that out about you from any one of the many neighbors that was like, as they're moving in and doing stuff, people are dropping by to visit. People are they're outside talking to neighbors. Like, you can gather that information relatively quickly with very little prying.
But just like with everything else, it keeps getting weirder.
Sure
This
does.
time, the watcher addressed Derek and Maria directly, misspelling their names as Mr. and Mrs. Braddis, or Broadus, however you want to pronounce it. Had the watcher been close enough to hear one of the Broadus' contractors addressing them? The watcher boasted of having learned a lot about the family in the preceding weeks, especially about their children. The letter identified the Broadus' 3 kids by birth order and by their nicknames, the ones Maria had been yelling. I am pleased to know your names, and now the name of the young blood you have brought to me, it said. You certainly say their names often. The letter asked about one child in particular, whom the writer had seen using an easel inside an enclosed porch. Is she the artist in the family? The letter continued, 657 Boulevard is anxious for you to move in. It's been years and years since the young blood ruled the hallways of the house. Have you found all the secrets it holds yet? Will the young blood play in the basement? Or are they too afraid to go down there alone? I would be very afraid if I were them. It's far away from the rest of the house. If you were upstairs, you would never hear them scream. Will they sleep in the attic? Or will you all sleep on the second floor? Who has the bedrooms facing the street? I'll know as soon as you move in. It will help me to know who is in which bedroom. Then I can plan better. All the windows and doors in 657 Boulevard allow me to watch you and track you as we move through the house. Who am I? I am the watcher, and I've been in control of 657 Boulevard for the better part of 2 decades now. The Woods family turned it over to you. It was their time to move on and kindly sold it when I asked them to. I pass by many times a day. 657 Boulevard is my job, my life, my obsession. And now you are too, Braddis family. Welcome to the product of your greed. Greed is what brought the past 3 families 657 Boulevard, and now it's brought you to me. Happy moving in day. You know I will be watching. Cindy, how you feeling?
I'll be honest with you, that would piss me off.
I am not too man to admit that at this point, I'd be freaking out a little.
Well, especially the thing about the enclosed porch, the easel. I've seen a bunch of diagrams of like the plots, of the plot of the house and the surrounding lots. There's very specific places where you can only see that enclosed porch, the easel.
Yep, you were correct. Sorry, I thought you had more. I'm sorry. Continue.
No, I'm just saying. So now, like, you'd be looking at specific points. Getting the kids' names in birth order. I'm saying, think about the new blood, and then having another couple call new blood. Certain areas just have like certain phrases that they use over and over again. Damn it, Zach got me. Zach's got me.
You went all the way to New Jersey just to terrify this family for a couple years, and it's like, all right, on board, back to Detroit.
It was fucking hilarious.
We ready to continue? We got any further comments?
No.
All right, let's keep going. Derek and Maria stopped bringing their kids to the house. They were no longer sure when or if they would move in. Several weeks later, a third letter arrived. Where have you gone to? The watcher wrote. 657 Boulevard is missing you. Many Westfield residents compare their town to Mayberry, the idyllic setting for the Andy Griffith Show, the kind of place where where a new neighbor might greet you with a welcoming note. Westfield is 45 minutes from New York and a bit too slow for singles, meaning the town's 30,000 residents are largely well-to-do families. This year, Bloomberg ranked Westfield the 99th richest city in America. This year being 2022. That's when this article was written. So this story stretches from, I think, 2014 to 2017 or 18, something like that.
Sounds about right.
But only the 18th wealthiest in New Jersey. Jesus Christ, I didn't realize that means there's 17 more wealthier than this in New Jersey, and this place is affluent as fuck. It's a $1.3 million.
Yeah.
Anyway, in 2014, when the watcher struck, the website Neighborhood Scout named the country's 30th safest town. The most pressing local issue of late, according to residents, had been temporary closure of Trader Joe's after a roof collapse and the rampant scourge of unconstitutional policing, by which they mean aggressive parking enforcement. Westfield is 86% white. Now, this 86% white part does actually have relevance because we're talking about one of those, like, that goes to show how hoity-toity this area is.
Yes. Well,
Story
and
at
think
least
about it,
you
like
actually
they talked
told.
about like things that happened. It was like, I think we all remember where we were when the Trader Joe's caved in.
Exactly. Yes. One activity all locals recognize as treacherous is trying to buy a house. There's a lot of money and a lot of ego, one resident who requested anonymity before discussing Westfield real estate told me. I've seen bidding wars where friends lost by $300,000. The Brazos house was on the Boulevard, a wide tree-lined street with some of the more desirable homes in town. As the watcher had noted, the Boulevard used to be the street to live on. You made it if you lived on the Boulevard. Built in 1905, 657 Boulevard was perhaps the grandest home on the block, and when the Woods put it on the market, they had received multiple offers above the asking price. That led the Brazos to initially suspect the watcher might be someone upset over losing out on the house. So this is when I first heard this story on a episode, it was a podcast called Time Suck, which covers a lot of true crime, history, things like that. That was my thinking this whole time. Like, oh, this is going to be some dude or family or whatever. They're pissed off that they didn't get the house they wanted. Not the case. It's pretty obvious that's not the case because of the reason the others bowed out. The Woods had said one interested buyer backed out after a bad medical diagnosis. The other just found a different home. In an email to the Brazos, Andrea Woods proposed another theory. With the mention of the contractor trucks and your children suggests that it was someone in the neighborhood. The letters did indicate proximity. They've been processed in Kearney, the U.S. Postal Service's distribution center in northern New Jersey. The first was postmarked June 4th before the sale was public. So if the sale wasn't public yet, that means it has to be somebody with intimate knowledge of what's going on in the neighborhood, right? The Woodses had never put up a for sale sign. Only a day after the contractors arrived. The renovations were mostly interior, and people who lived nearby say they didn't notice any unusual commotion, even from the jackhammering in the basement. When Derek and Maria walked Detective Lugo around the house, they showed him the easel on the porch was hidden from the street by vegetation, making it difficult to see unless someone was behind the house or right next door. A few days after the first letter, Maria and Derek went to a barbecue across the street, welcoming them and another new homeowner to the block. The Brazos hadn't told anyone about the watcher, as the police had instructed, and found themselves scanning the party for clues while keeping tabs on their kids, who ran guilelessly through the crowd that made up much of the suspect pool. We kept screaming at them to stay close, Maria said. People must have thought we were crazy. At one point, Derek was chatting with John Schmidt, who lived 2 doors down, when Schmidt told him about the Langfords, who lived between them. Peggy Langford was in her 90s, and several of her adult children, all in their 60s, lived with her. The family was a bit odd, Schmidt said, but harmless. He described one of the younger Langfords, Michael, who didn't work and had a beard like Ernest Hemingway, as kind of a Boo Radley character. Now, who is familiar with this reference? No? So Boo Radley is a ghost. He's not really a ghost. In the book To Kill a Mockingbird, he's a shut-in. And he's an absolute shut-in. Kids tell ghost stories about him. He's got a terrible reputation around town, things to that effect. Boo Radley ends up saving Scout, the little girl, at the end of the book, but is so antisocial and whatnot, he freaks out about the human connection after saving the girl. It's great book, great story. Everybody read it. But like, if you get the reference and know that this guy says that he's a Boo Radley type, you get what's going on. Derek thought the case was solved. The Langford house was right next to an easel on the porch. The family had lived there since the 60s, when the watcher's father, when the watcher's father, the letter said, began observing 657 Boulevard. Richard Langford, the family patriarch, died 12 years earlier, and the current watcher claimed to have been on the job for the better part of 2 decades. When the Brazos told Lugo about the family, he said he already knew, and a week after the first letter arrived, he brought Michael Langford to the police headquarters for an interview. So even the police suspected these guys, this family, after the first letter was brought in, and the police didn't even tell Derek and Maria. We already brought some of the Langfords in for questioning.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and did they mention here that Michael was schizophrenic?
That comes up later, but yes. So it comes up later in the article. I don't know if the police are, but yeah, it does come up later in the article that Michael actually was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Yep.
But they, a lot of the people in town said, like, I don't know how to put this. Like, it's nice neighborly schizophrenia. Like,
Yeah, that
they'll,
comes
like,
up too. Like, yeah.
I don't. I've never heard it posed that way before.
He's schizophrenic, but he gets the paper for me every morning.
Yeah,
That's what one person
that's
literally
what the guy
says.
said.
Michael denied knowing anything about the letters, but the Brazos say that Lugo told them that the narrative of what he said matched the things mentioned in the letters. This isn't CSI Westfield, Lugo told the Brazos. When the wife is dead, it's the husband. But there wasn't much hard evidence. After a few weeks, the police chief told the Brazos that, short of an admission, there wasn't much the department could do. This is someone who threatened my kids, and the police are saying probably nothing's going to happen, Derek said. Probably isn't good enough for me. After the second letter, Derek told the cops that if they didn't take care of the situation, he would have a different kind of case on their hands. This person attacked my family. And where I'm from, if you do that, you get your ass beat, Derek told him. Frustrated, the Brazos began their own investigation. Derek became especially obsessed. He set up webcams in 657 Boulevard, spent nights crouched in the dark, watching to see if anyone was watching the house at close range. Maria thought I was crazy. He told me recently. By the way, this guy being interviewed. So when he says he told me recently, the interviewer is actually interviewing both Derek and Maria at certain points in this article. Mm-hmm. It's cut very strangely, and I don't like that. But just so you guys are aware of why it's being phrased like this. He told me recently at the coffee shop in Manhattan, where he covered a table with documents relating to the case, including copies of the letters, which he and his wife has shared with only a few friends and family members. He showed me a map displaying when each of 657's neighbors had moved in. The Langfords were the only ones there since the 60s, with overlays marking possible sight lines for the easel and a circle for approximate range of earshot to estimate who might have heard Maria yelling their kids' names. Only a few homes fit both criteria. The Brazos also turned to several experts. They employed private investigators. Normally on TFH, we just get to the juicy stuff. There's a reason we're going through this whole article. I want to paint a picture for you guys in the chat. What lengths Derek went to try and figure out where this was coming from. Because, spoiler alert, motherfucker's never been caught.
No.
There's theories that the Brazos did this themselves as a publicity thing. I don't buy that for a second. So again, I think it's very important for you guys to know the context of everything that happened.
Not even a publicity thing too. There's also a theory that they bit off more than they can chew and couldn't afford the house, and they were looking.
Yeah, we're gonna get into all we'll get into the theories near the end. So the Brazos also turned to several experts. They employed a private investigator who staked out the neighborhood, ran background checks on the Langfords, but didn't find anything noteworthy. Derek reached out to former FBI agent who served as the inspiration for Clarice Starling and the Signs of the Lambs. They were on the high school board of trustees together, and they also hired Robert Lennon, another former FBI agent, to conduct a threat assessment. Lennon recognized several old-fashioned ticks in the letters that pointed to an older writer. The envelope was addressed to M.M. Broadus. So, what is that? Mr. and Madam?
Yeah, I think so.
The salutations included. Oh, yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Yeah, that's true. The salutations included the day's weather, warm and humid, sunny and cool for a summer day. The sentences had double spaces between them. The letters had a certain literary panache which suggested a voracious reader, and a surprising lack of profanity given the level of anger, which Lennon thought meant a less macho writer. Maybe he wondered the Watcher had also seen The Watcher, starring Keanu Reeves as a serial killer who stalks the detective trying to catch him. Lennon didn't think the Watcher was likely to act on threats, but the letters had enough typos and errors to imply a certain erraticism. The first letter dated Tuesday, June 4th, but that day was actually a Wednesday. There was also seething anger directed at the wealthy in particular. The Watcher was upset by new money moving into town. Are you one of those Hoboken transplants who are ruining Westfield? And by the Brazos' relatively modest renovations. So here's another excerpt from a letter. The house is crying from all the pain it's going through. You've changed it, made it so fancy. You're stealing its history. It cries for the past, what used to be in the time when I roamed its halls. The 1960s were a good time for 657 Boulevard, when I ran from room to room, imagining life with the rich occupants there. The house was full of life and young blood. Then it got old, and so did my father. But he kept watching it until the day he died. And now I watch and wait for the day when the young blood will be mine again. Shit's getting creepy.
Yeah.
Lennon recommended looking into former housekeepers or their descendants. Perhaps the Watcher was jealous that the Brosses had bought a home that the writer couldn't afford. But the focus remained on the Langfords. In cooperation with the Westfield police, the Brosses sent a letter to the Langfords announcing plans to tear down the house, hoping to prompt a response. But nothing happened. Detective Lugo brought Michael Langford in for a second interview, but got nowhere. His sister Abby accused the police of harassing their family. Eventually, the Bros hired Lee Levitt, a lawyer who met with several members of the Langford family, as well as their attorney, to show them the letters along with photos explaining how their home was one of the few vantage points from which the easel could be seen. The meeting grew so tense, Levitt told me, and the Langfords insisted Michael was innocent. One night, Derek had a dream in which he confronts Peggy, the eldest Langford, and demanded she build an 8-foot fence between the properties. Maria was having other kinds of dreams. One night, she woke up to an especially vivid one about a man who lived nearby. He was wearing those boots and carrying a pitchfork and calling to the kids, and I couldn't get to them in time, Maria said. She thought almost anyone could be the Watcher, which made daily life feel like navigating a labyrinth of threats. She probed the faces of shoppers at Trader Joe's, see if they looked strangely at her kids, spent hours Googling anyone who seemed suspicious. There were reasons to consider other suspects. For one, the police spoke to Michael before the second letter was sent, which would make sending 2 more especially reckless. The Brosses say that Lugo told them they wouldn't receive any more letters after he spoke with Michael. Then there were the rest of the neighborhood to consider. The private investigator found 2 child sex offenders within a few blocks. Bill Woodward and the Brosses house painter had also noticed something strange. The couple behind 657 Boulevard kept a pair of lawn chairs strangely close to the Brosses' property. One day, I was looking out the window and I saw this older guy sitting in one of the chairs. Woodward told me he wasn't facing his house, he was facing the Brosses'. By the end of 2014, the investigation had stalled. The Watcher had left no digital trail, no fingerprints, no way to place someone at the scene of the crime that could have been hatched from pretty much any mailbox in northern New Jersey. The letters could be read closely for possible clues or dismissed as nonsensical ramblings of a sociopath. It was like trying to find a needle in a haystack, said Scott Krause, who helped investigate the case for the Union County Prosecutor's Office. In December, the Westfield police told the Brosses they had run out of options. Derek showed the letters to his priest, who agreed to bless the house. I mean, at this point, it sounds to me like Derek trying for anything.
Yeah. You know,
so
when you got the priests getting into the house, let's face it, we've all seen horror movies. They don't know where else to turn.
Right. I'm telling you, dude, this was some man-child living off his well-to-do parents who came up with a Watcher character to relive his what?
Inui, I think.
And the Brosses were the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe, but that doesn't explain the fact that the previous owners, the Woodses, did get one letter, and there's something else happens later that puts a hole in that. Like, even if this is true, it's just some young dude living out with his parents or whatnot. He's still like harassing his family. He's still able to get super close. He was still never found. Again, we're assuming it was a he. There's so much that goes into this one. The renovation of 657 Boulevard included a new alarm system. We're finished within a few months, but the idea of moving in filled the Brosses with overwhelming anxiety. Could they let their kids play outside or have friends over? Would they get a new letter every week? Derek priced out trained German shepherds and posted a job on a website for military veterans. All you have to do was work out in the backyard every day. But the Brosses hadn't bought 657 to feel bunkered into a fortress. At the end of the day, what it came down to, what are you willing to risk? Maria told me. We weren't going to put our kids in harm's way. Derek had been responding to the occasional alarms at the house, sometimes in the middle of the night, bringing a knife with him just in case. They were so joyous about their new home, and then within days, they were petrified, Bill Woodward, the painter, said. I'm a stranger, and Maria was crying, shaking my arms. It didn't help that the Watchers seemed to be getting more and more unhinged. So here's another letter. 657 Boulevard is turning on me. It's coming after me. I don't understand why. What spell did you cast on it? It used to be my friend, and now it's my enemy. I'm in charge of 657 Boulevard. It's not in charge of me. I will fend off its bad things and wait for it to become good again. It will not punish me. I will rise again. I'll be patient and wait for this to pass and for you to bring the young blood back to me. 657 Boulevard needs young blood. It needs you. Come back. Let the young blood play again like I once did. Let the young blood seep in 657 Boulevard. Stop changing it and let it alone.
Okay, this doesn't sound like unchecked schizophrenia to anyone.
But, I mean, even though Michael was go for it, Cindy, by all means.
No, I was going to say, if it was schizophrenia, it wouldn't be so coordinated. It wouldn't be so direct and linear in a sense.
Not only that, but I don't think there's evidence that Michael's schizophrenia was unchecked. He was diagnosed, but I don't know that it's unchecked per se. I mean, it's otherwise, I imagine other members of the neighborhood would have stories and whatnot, but everyone speaks of him so highly.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. Also, Story Kenobi. Go for it, Sammy.
Like, okay, so now they've confronted him on it, right? Let's say it is Michael with his schizophrenia. They've confronted out it. I don't understand. Now the house is mad at me. Why aren't you moving in? Like, you know, it wants you here. You know, he's saying I had fun in that house when when there are accounts of those kids playing in that house in the 60s. So it's like,
well,
it kind of fits the narrative.
The priest, the house is mad at him. The priest trick actually worked. So again, the guy he must be around all the time because he was. What are the odds of him being there or being in vicinity or watching through binoculars or whatever it may be at the same time that Derek shows up with the priest? Like, he'd have to have known in advance, or he has to be always watching it. I mean, his name is the Watcher, but like, the letter about the house turning on him comes after the priest blesses it.
Yeah.
What is this dude doing? How often is he there? How is he in such constant, view, whatever it may be? Yeah, this is weird. And the letters don't stop. The Brazos had sold their old home, so they moved in with Maria's parents while continuing to pay the mortgage and property taxes on 657 Boulevard. I had to do things like shovel the driveway, Derek said. Just picture that little indignity. I'd go in at 5 a.m, then come back and do it again my in-laws. They told only a handful of friends about the letters, which left others to ask why they weren't moving in. Legal issues, they said, and people would wonder if they're getting divorced. They fought constantly, started taking medication to fall asleep. I was a depressed wreck, Derek said. Maria's decided to see a therapist after a routine doctor's visit began with the question, "How are you?" causing her to burst into tears. The therapist said she was suffering post-traumatic stress that wouldn't go away until they got rid of the house. 6 months after the letters arrived, the Brazos decided to sell 657 Boulevard. They initially listed it for more than they paid to reflect the renovations they'd done, but few worlds are more gossipy than suburban New Jersey real estate, and rumors had already begun to swirl about why the house sat empty. One broker emailed her to say her client loved it, but that there are so many unsubstantiated rumors flying around, ranging from sexual predator to stalker, that they need to know more. Brazos sent a partial disclosure mentioning the letters to interested buyers and told Caldwell Banker, their realtor, they intended to show the full letters to anyone whose offer was accepted. By the way, and the article is going to go on to mention this, but just to let y'all know in chat, that wasn't necessary. There was no law in New Jersey, is still no law based on what I can tell, that required them to disclose the letters at all. They did this to accepted offers of their own volition. Like, I feel like that speaks to their character. I don't know. What do you guys think?
No, it's definitely not required. And that's why I don't buy a couple of those theories that we'll get to at the end. Where
right? What do you think, Sonny? Oh, sorry, I thought you were done, Sammy. Go on.
Oh no, I'm just saying a lot of their actions feel very genuine, like especially with if they were having money problems, well, they sure as shit wouldn't have been able to afford to beef up the security system. They wanted veterans to like work out in the backyard and talking about like constructing like an 8-foot fence. Money doesn't seem to be an issue here. And everything, and even that interview with the painter, where like, dude, they were all excited, and then one day it just all changed, and they were terrified to walk in the house. I just think this was getting to them. I think they're very protective of their children, and rightfully so. And that's.
And remember, their kids are young, 5, 8, and 10. Also, mollycoddled. I agree completely.
That's the word I was looking for. It was coherent. It was too coherent. It was too put together for schizophrenia.
Oh, for sure.
Several preliminary bids came in well below asking price, but the Brosses weren't ready to take such a financial hit and only wanted to share the letters with likely buyers. And again, that sounds bad. They weren't ready to take the financial hit, but remember, they paid $1.3 million for the house, plus all the renovations and stuff were also, I believe they'd done like $100,000 in renovations.
Yeah.
So, like again, you're right. Money is not an object for these people. No one got that far, even after they lowered the price. A Caldwell agent who hadn't read the letters told them in an email that they were being unnecessarily forthcoming. My friend got horrible threatening letters about her dog barking, and she didn't think to disclose, but the Brosses insisted, I don't know how you lived through what we did and think you could do it to somebody else, Derek said. Derek and Maria thought about what they would have done when the previous owners told them about the letter from the Watcher. The Woodses, both retired scientists, told the Brosses they remembered the letter they received as more strange than threatening, thanking them for taking care of the house. They said they never had any issues. We certainly never felt watched, Andrea Woods told them. They rarely even locked the doors. But the Brosses felt the name alone was ominous enough to merit mentioning to a new family moving in. On June 2nd, 2015, so literally yesterday would have been the anniversary of this, a year after buying 657 Boulevard, they filed a legal complaint against the Woodses, arguing the Woodses should disclose the letter just as they had, and the fact that disclose the letter just as they disclosed the fact that water sometimes gets in the basement. The Brosses say they hope to reach a quiet settlement. Their kids still didn't know about the Watcher, and their lawyer assured them that, at most, a small legal newswire might pick up the story. Now, I don't necessarily know if I agree with them going after the Woodses on this, but by the same token, it's been a year. They're stressed. They're hurting. I think they just had some misplaced anger, and they took it out on this family that lived there prior.
Because, like they said, the letter wasn't even threatening. Like, if you were just about to move and then you got, like, a kooky letter, you'd be like, oh, well, we're moving. Like, whatever.
Right.
You know, like. Now, if it was very threatening and it was something, then maybe I would say something. But it just sounded like it was weird. It didn't, it didn't. Hey, thanks for taking care of your house. Yeah, like,
right.
All right, cool.
We do some creepy stories, Tamron Hall said on the Today Show a few weeks later. This might be top 10 creepy. A local reporter found the complaint, which includes snippets of the Watcher's missing threats, and after a belated attempt by the Brosses to seal it, the story went viral. News trucks camped outside 657 Boulevard. One local reporter set up a lawn chair to conduct his own watch. Brosses got more than 300 media requests, but with advice from crisis management consultant referred to by one of Derek's colleagues, they decided not to speak publicly to spare their kids even more attention. They vacated Westfield and went to a friend's beach house. They didn't find much peace there because Maria's grandfather had a heart attack and the friend they were staying with had a grand mal seizure. While they're trying to get away from this Watcher nonsense, this happens. Jesus Christ, what an unlucky fucking family.
Eventually, I mean, like, anybody who lived in that house is unlucky.
Honestly, yeah. Well, again, you're on to something. We'll sell that for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, Derek and Maria sat down with their children to explain the real reason they hadn't moved into their home. The kids had plenty of questions. Who is the Watcher? Where does this person live? Why is this person angry with us? To which Derek and Maria had a few answers. Can you imagine having to have that conversation with a 5-year-old? Derek told me, your town isn't as safe as you think it is, and there's a boogeyman obsessed with you. From a safer distance, the Watcher was a real-life mystery to solve. A commenter at NewJersey.com suggested ground-penetrating radar to find whatever the Watcher claimed was in the walls. The home inspector had already looked and told Derek the only issue was the aging home's lack of insulation. A group of Reddit users obsessed over Google Maps Street View, which showed a car parked in front of 657 that one user thought had a man holding a camera in the driver's seat. Others more rationally saw pixelated glare. The range of proposed suspects included a jilted mistress, a spurned realtor, local high schoolers' creative writing project, guerrilla marketing for a horror movie, mall goths having fun. Some people just thought the Brosses were wimps for not moving in. I would never let this sicko stop me from moving into a house, never bat down from a terrorist, which irked the Brosses. None of them have read the letters and had their children threatened by someone they don't know, Derek said. To decide whether this person's only nuts enough to write these letters and not do something, what if something did happen?
That's now, such a stupid claim to say, hey, if that was me, I would never do that. How would you know? You're not in the situation.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was about to ask both of you guys. At this point, and chat, you feel free to answer as well. What at this point would you have moved in? Would you have been like, nope, we're trying to get this sussed out. We're not moving in. At this point, they're living with their in-laws for a year. How embarrassing that gotta be. You're a fucking millionaire and you're living with your goddamn in-laws. Like, what action would you have taken up to this point based on what we've seen so far?
Man, I don't know, because like there's part of me, I told you that story the other day where the box fell and I was like walking through my house with the gun, going like, joke's on you, I ain't got shit to steal. I don't have kids, there is a part, there's very much a part of me that is like, wish a motherfucker would, but like if I brought my family in there and and it's not like there's this loud bang at the door and I run and grab my gun. This guy's sending like these oddly specific and menacing letters, and I don't know how he's able to look into my house, and if something happened to my family, I don't know if I'd be able to forgive myself for that. You know what I mean? So holding off on moving in, I can completely understand. Living with my in-laws for a year, I don't know about that.
I don't blame you.
Daddy, why do we live in this apartment? Well, we're figuring some stuff out, honey. Go back to bed.
What about you, Cindy? What are you doing in this situation?
I don't know. I would start like taking some of the drywall down, making sure there's like no hidden cameras after like securely going through everything. I don't know.
But by the way, I have a feeling based on something that was said earlier in this that these are uppity liberals, the Broadduses. I mean, no shade to them and whatnot. However, they said that anytime the alarm was tripped while being with the in-laws, Derek would rush over with a knife. To me, it sounds like motherfucker afraid of guns or anti-gun or whatever. So,
yeah, what are the gun laws in Jersey?
To stay strapped. What?
What are the gun laws in Jersey? Is that?
Oh, I'm sure they're fucking insanely like overdone. New Jersey, right next to New York. This guy works in New York.
That's what I'm saying.
I bet they've got some pretty staunch gun laws.
Okay, so because that would have been my first instinct.
Right? You get the blicky. You stay strapped at all times.
Absolutely. Like I said, that was the first thing I did. I got my shotgun. I was like, I call it the redecorator. I was like, like I'm ready to go.
Martin says this is their gun laws: black powder rifles only.
So we answered. What would you do, Leon?
So I want to say that I would go forward with moving in, be like, and again, I'm not in New Jersey. I'm in the Midwest where we have far more lax gun laws. We're a stand your ground state, shit like that. I got a couple guns just off camera that y'all ain't seeing because I don't want to get ABF'd. But like, so I don't know what the circumstances are as far as gun laws in Jersey, but I'd basically be like, I just spent 1.3 million on this fucking house, all these renovations. Try a bitch. But again, I want to say that's what I'd do, but unless you're put in this situation, like Cindy said earlier, I don't actually know that I can so confidently say that,
Yeah, like I said, there's part of me that's like, yeah, no, I'm going in strapped. Like, please, by all means, break in my house. I will show you what will happen. But it's what about all the times where it's just your wife and kids there and you're at work? I'd be freaking out the whole time.
I remember something I heard on Tim Pool. Now, this was a year or so ago, but I don't know if this is true. I heard it on Tim Pool. It's on the internet. It must be true. But Tim Pool one time said that the gun laws in New Jersey are so strict, you are not even allowed to discharge your firearm if someone is breaking into your home if there's a viable escape route. Like, you are legally bound to try and escape the house before you even discharge your weapon. So if there's again, that's if what Tim Pool says is true, it's correct, the whole nine. But like, imagine dude breaks in your home, you gun him the fuck down, and you're the one that goes to jail for it because he said, well, you could have gone out the back door.
That's insane.
That's what he says the New Jersey gun laws are like.
What?
I'm going off of what I hear a political guy say on the internet. I don't know if that's true. Paul Byersmith grew up there. He's in chat. He can let me know. So, oh shit! He says I can confirm that. Again, yeah,
Oh my
IRL Best
gosh.
Paul grew up in. Okay, so you know what? Things are a bit different. If I ain't gonna have my blicky, then yeah, actually, I'm probably not moving the fuck in.
Yeah, that's what
Never
I'm saying.
mind.
It was like, that's a toughie.
Ryan.
Would
Oh.
say.
I was looking for it.
Said. Oh wait. Ryan was the
Oops.
one. Yeah, we were talking the same one. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
I'll let
okay.
you. I'll let you.
I couldn't escape. They were blocking the doors. Me after moving the bodies. Dude, based.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, you're supposed to be in the chart of the chat. My bad, Sydney. In Westfield, people were on edge. Lori Clancy, who teaches piano lessons in her house behind 657 Boulevard, told me one of her students came for a lesson shortly after the news of the watcher broke and started bawling. She was terrified to walk down the boulevard. At the first Westfield Town Council meeting after the letters became public, Mayor Andy Shibitsky assured the public the watcher hadn't been heard from in a year, and even though the police hadn't solved the case, their investigation had been exhaustive. Now, the watcher hadn't been heard from, but I'll tell you guys, he certainly makes a comeback. This was news to 657's neighbors, most of whom had never heard from the cops. We were confounded as to how a thorough investigation can be conducted without even talking to all the neighbors with proximity to the home. Several of them wrote in a letter to the local paper. Under the glare of national attention, Baron Chambliss, a veteran detective in the Westfield Police, was asked to look at the case. The Broadses are victims, and I don't think they got the support they needed. Chambliss, who has since retired, told me recently after the initial investigation. Chambliss knew his colleagues had looked closely at Michael Langford. According to his brother, Sandy Langford, and Michael had been diagnosed with schizophrenia as a young man. He sometimes spooked newcomers in the neighborhood when he did strange things, like walk through their backyard or peek through the windows of their homes that were being renovated. But those who knew him told me that the odd things he did were mostly just unusual neighborly kindnesses. He goes out and gets newspapers for me every morning, said John Schmidt, who lives next door. People who had known Michael for decades told me they didn't think he was capable of writing the letters. And again, dude has schizophrenia, and like Cindy and Molly Kala both said, these are very coherent letters. As Chambliss looked into the case, he discovered something surprising. Investigators had eventually conducted a DNA analysis on one of the envelopes and determined the DNA belonged to a woman. Huh. Well, this is a twist. Chambliss decided to look more closely at Abby Langford, Michael's sister, who worked as a real estate agent. Was she upset about missing a commission or right next door? She also worked at the local Lord & Taylor, so she must not have been that great of a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And Chambliss coordinated with a security guard there to nab her plastic water bottle during a shift. Chambliss says the DNA sample was not a match. Guess it's not her then. Not long after, the prosecutor's office gave Derek and Maria some unexpected news. They wouldn't say why or how. They had ruled out the Langfords as suspects. So the next door neighbors at this point, off the table. 100% off the table. As the Broadses were stunned, they had recently told the prosecutors they planned to file civil charges against the Langfords and wondered if the prosecutors were lying to prevent the story from blowing up again. My family moved to Boulevard in 1961, and we never caused a problem for anybody, Sandy Langford told me. This guy gets all these letters, and all of a sudden, people are pointing fingers. I do get why the Langfords would be a bit upsetty spaghetti about this. You know what? All right, fair enough. Just me, I guess. Left without a suspect, the Broadses responded to their personal investigation. They were still coy about sharing too much with their neighbors, who remained in a pool of suspects, but spent an afternoon walking the block with a picture of the watcher's handwritten envelope. They hoped someone might recognize the writing from a Christmas card, but the only notable encounter came when an older man who lived behind 657 said his son joked that the watcher sounded a little bit like him. A neighbor across the street was the CEO of Kroll, a security firm, and the Broadses hired the company to look for handwriting matches, but they found nothing. So now they're spending more money trying to figure this out. It's been going on for a year now.
Damn.
They also hired Robert Leonard, a renowned forensic linguist and former member of the band Sha Na Na, who I'm sure Sammy is a fan of.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that coming.
Really?
Former member of the band Sha Na Na.
What was their one big hit? I'm trying to remember.
I am too, but honestly, the only one I remember from Sha Na Na is from the Hanukkah song.
No, they had a big hit. See, Born a Hand Jive, Blue Moon, Rock and Roll's Here to Stay, Those Magic Changes, Get a Job, Hound Dog. I thought Hound Dog was Elvis.
Get a job. Na 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 na
That was-
na 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 na.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wait, You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog is Elvis.
Yeah, this song is
Yeah.
just called Hound Dog. Anyway, Jamal Hammond says, OMG, I remember Sha Na Na. Hey, catch you later, Sarge. Anyway, yeah, just a funny little addendum to the story. You know, fucking renowned forensic linguist and former member of the band Shana, who didn't find any noteworthy overlap when he scoured local online forums for similarities to the Watcher's writing. Although he did think the author might watch Game of Thrones. Jon Snow was one of the Watchers on the wall. At one point, Derek, and this 2014, 2015, at this point, like Game of Thrones is the biggest thing fucking ever.
Yeah.
Derek persuaded a friend in tech to connect him to a hacker willing to try breaking into Wi-Fi networks in the neighborhood to look for incriminating documents. But doing so turned out to be both illegal and more difficult than the movies made it seem, so they didn't go through with it. Chambliss and the Westfield police were also back at square one. The cops asked Andrea Woods for a DNA sample and interviewed her 21-year-old son, who was surprised to find that he suddenly seemed to be a suspect. So now the son of the people sold in the house is a suspect. A year after the fact, it was hard to find fresh leads, and the initial police canvass had been so porous that it had missed a significant clue. Around the same time the Broadses had received their first letter, another family on the Boulevard got a similar note from the Watcher. No one fucking knew about this other letter.
Wait, I never heard about this.
What?
The parents of that family lived in their house for years. Their kids were grown, so they threw the letter away just like the Woodses had. Yup. After the news broke, one of the grown children posted about it on Facebook, but deleted the post. When investigators spoke to the family, they confirmed the letter had been similar to the Broadses, but its existence only made the case more confusing. It wasn't a lot to go on, Chambliss told me. So, in my opinion, this 100% rules out the Broadses because they hadn't, the sale hadn't been disclosed yet. They hadn't moved in yet. No one in the neighborhood met them yet. This completely unrelated family also gets a letter. They throw it away, but one of the kids posts about it on Facebook.
Huh.
Like, the Watcher's real at this point, right? Like, there's no way we can doubt the Watcher in some way, shape, or form is a real individual.
Yes.
Yeah. That's crazy. Somebody is like really determined to keep this up.
Right? One night, Chambliss and a partner were sitting in the back of a van parked on the Boulevard watching the house through a pair of binoculars. Around 11 p.m., a car stopped in front of the house long enough for Chambliss to grow suspicious. He says he traced the car to a young woman in a nearby town whose boyfriend lived in the same block as 657. The woman told Chambliss her boyfriend was into some really dark video games, including in Chambliss' memory, one which he was playing as a specific character, the Watcher. As for the female DNA, Chambliss figured the girlfriend or someone else could have helped. The boyfriend was living elsewhere at the time, but Chambliss says he agreed to come in for an interview on 2 separate occasions. He didn't show up either time. Chambliss didn't have enough evidence to compel him to appear, and with the media attention dying down, he dropped the case and moved on. This could be the guy, and it was never followed up on afterwards.
Oh, and I remember, yeah, because there's the gamer theory. They also think that the girlfriend got it wrong. He wasn't playing a game called The Watcher. He's playing a game called
because
The Witcher.
she's not a gamer, so she doesn't know shit?
Yeah, so he was playing The Witcher, and
interesting. He's into some dark stuff. Let's see. I wonder. Do a quick Google. Is there a video game with a character called The
I'm sure
Watcher?
there is.
Several video games.
But
Slay
playing
the
as a
Spire,
specific
which is a deck
character.
building game. Pillars of Eternity and Pillars of Eternity 2.
Power Wash Simulator.
So, and then there's Rain World. None of those are particularly dark, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Witcher fits more, right? Like, it's a darker game. You're fighting demons.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, the girlfriend could have
Polish.
got it wrong because he wasn't a gamer. You're right. While the Broadsons continued to be consumed by stress and fear, the rest of Westfield, the story became little more than a creepy urban legend. A house to walk by on Halloween if you were brave enough. No one who had lived in the house before the Woodses could recall anything unusual, and it was hard for people to imagine that their idyllic neighborhood could be the host of something so sinister. A woman who lives nearby told me that after the news broke, she and 10 or so of her neighbors had gathered in the street to puzzle out who might have sent the letters. Eventually, she said they came to consensus. Maybe the Broadses sent the letter to themselves. The theories... Well... This is how far people are willing to go to try and dismiss this shit. And this actually kind of pisses me off. The theory went so far, the theory so far as it went, was the Brazos had suffered buyer's remorse or realized they couldn't afford the home, concocted an elaborate scheme to get out of the sale, or Derek was cooking up some kind of insurance fraud. They were angling for a movie deal. The Brazos received several offers but turned them down. Several movie deals and stuff, by the way. The Lifetime eventually released a movie called The Watcher, despite a cease and desist letter from the Brazos, arguing the couple in this movie was biracial and the letters were signed The Raven. Fuck you, Lifetime. Perpetuating woke culture.
Yeah.
Some locals found it noteworthy that over the course of a decade, the Brazos had upgraded from a $315,000 house to a $770,000 house to a $1.3 million one and refinanced their mortgages. Okay.
Yeah, but the guy got promoted to a vice president.
Yeah, he's a vice president of an insurance company in New York City.
Yeah, like Luigi was begging to shoot this guy.
That was dark. A few weeks later, the letters became public. The Westfield Leader published an article which anonymous neighbors recorded asking why the Brazos kept renovating the home they weren't moving into, or questioning whether they had really done that much renovating at all. The Leader even cast doubt on Maria's commitment to her family's safety, citing as evidence the fact that she had a public Facebook page with a photo of her kids. The paper did know the police had tested Maria's DNA, and it wasn't a match. Also, she probably had this Facebook page with pictures of her kids well before this shit started. And also, the Watcher knows who her kids look like at this point. Why take it down? He's already called them out by name.
That's an excellent question.
None of the theories made much logical sense. The Brazos had answers to every question. How does someone go from a $300,000 house to $1.3 million in 10 years? It's America. But they weren't speaking publicly, and the rumors persisted. One Boulevard resident wrote a letter to the editor arguing that an elaborate scheme was underway to defraud the Woods family for millions of dollars. The Chambliss told me some Westfield cops even bought into the theory. There were even more skeptics online. I live in a neighboring town. If these letters have been happening for a while, there's no doubt in my mind that it would have been public way before this, Lord Fluffernutter said on Reddit. This screams scam. I'm sure Lord Fluffernutter knows so much about whether or not this is a scam or not.
I want advice from a guy named
Reddit's never bought into a conspiracy theory ever.
The Brazos hadn't known their neighbors would react to news about the Watcher, but they had lived in the area for a decade, and Maria's family had been a part of the community for much longer. So it was shocking to find themselves accused of being con artists. Because remember, they lived in this town already, just in a different part of the town, in a different house, while they were buying this one. To Derek, it seemed that some Westfield preferred conspiracy theory to considering whether their town might be home to a menace. There's a natural tendency to say, I've lived here for 35 years. Nothing's happened to me, Derek said. What happened to my family is an affront to their contention that they're safe. There's no such thing as mental illness in the community. People don't want to believe this could happen in Westfield. While Maria looks back fondly on her childhood, she was born a few years after Westfield resident John List infamously murdered his wife. By the way, when doing research for this, I came across the John List killing. Totally different story. It doesn't tie into this at all, but it was an interesting, not serial killer, but interesting murder case that happened in this, again, relatively safe town. Mother and three children in their home remembered a period where she and other kids warned to look out for strange vans driving around town. My mother always told me, don't have a false sense of security, she said. It wasn't the bad things were going on all the time. It was the bad things happen everywhere. She didn't want me to think that this is Mayberry. Many locals I spoke with did seem more concerned that the national press might ruin Westfield's good name. Some were primarily worried about arson or vandalism or whether the Brazos would maintain the lawn. They did, by the way. Mark Lagrippo, the neighborhood's representative on the Westfield Town Council, told me the primary concern he heard from residents was that they were worried about their property value and stigma from the neighborhood. And there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Here's why the neighbors try and dismiss this whole Watchers thing, even though it verifiably happened. Because if they acknowledge that this is a real thing, property value goes down.
Ugh.
This is that small town politics bullshit that I'm talking about.
Yep.
We've got there's somebody out here calling for young blood, saying he's watched the house and his father and his grandfather before that. He's able to call the kids by name. He's able to pinpoint the one as an artist. He knows the house was blessed by a priest. He's been watching. He's been sending these letters. It's public at this point. The whole town is talking about it, but they want to pretend it's not there because of property value.
Yep. And not only that, it has gone out to multiple families at this point. So it's not like I said. If it was just isolated to the Broadduses, that's one thing. It wasn't. It was going out to other people as well. And
Yes.
it's slimy.
Yeah, Dax says it best. Those slimy fuckers, exactly. All right, where were we? All right. The Broadduses suddenly outcast, not only from their home, but also their town. Derek wanted to leave Westfield, but Maria insisted on not uprooting her kids. This person took so much from us, Maria told me. I wouldn't let them take more. 2 years after the Watchers' letters arrived, the Broadduses borrowed money from family members to buy a second home in Westfield using an LLC to keep the location private. But staying in town was stressful. The first time Maria let her daughter go to the pool with some friends, she stared at the tracker on her daughter's iPhone the whole time. One of the kids was in language arts class when a teacher led a debate about whether the family in a book they were reading should move to Westfield. The class thought they should, in part because of how safe it was. Afterward, one of the kids told the Broadduses' child, "My parents told me that no matter what your family says, Westfield is safe." Meanwhile, the Broadduses still had to figure out what to do with 657 Boulevard. Their lawsuit was pending, but seemed unlikely to succeed. Some states required sellers to disclose transient social conditions like murders or possible hauntings. In a 1991 case involving an alleged ghost-filled house, a New York court ruled that, as a matter of law, the house is haunted. But New Jersey has no such regulation. A judge later dismissed the lawsuit. The Woodses, through their attorney, declined to comment for the story. Garrett looked into renting a house to the Department of Veterans Affairs and company that runs halfway homes. In spring of 2016, they put 657 back on the market, hoping it might garner more interest, given how many people reacted to the letters by saying they would have ignored them and just moved in. The Broadduses held a well-attended open house, after which Derek and Maria spent hours researching every person who signed in and comparing their handwriting to the Watchers. But every time a potential buyer expressed interest and met with the Broadduses, the Broadduses' lawyer to read the letters, they backed out. Some cocky guy from Staten Island said, "Fuck it, I'm going to get a house at a discount," Derek called. He reads the letters. We never hear from him again. So, these people were all like, "Oh, yeah, I'm absolutely down to get this house. The letters won't scare me." Then they read the letters, and they are outski.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, we're reading all the letters in real time. At this point, the letters have not been made. What they say has not been made public at all.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh yeah, that's actually a common thing in various states. Tony Kenobi is that laws do recognize haunted houses.
Oh yeah, I mean, go to New Orleans. They'll put it right on the for sale sign. You'll see haunted or not haunted on the sign.
I would buy a house that's haunted. Are you kidding? That's awesome.
Only you, Senny. Only you. Feeling as if they were out of options, the Broadduses' real estate lawyer proposed an idea. Sell the house to a developer who could tear it down, split the property into 2 sellable homes. They thought they could get $1 million for the lot. Subdivisions like this have become common in Westfield, much to the chagrin of many locals. Now, this part we are going to skip through quite a bit of. It's basically all these next several paragraphs detail is a huge town hall meeting. A huge town hall meeting where the Broadduses come in to have the house torn down and sell the plot, and almost everybody in the neighborhood saying, "We can't do this because the house, if 2 small houses are built there with garages, it's going to be an eyesore." That's really what it boils down to. And so the Broadduses say, and then there's another man that comes in. Okay. So yeah, the other man that comes in is here in a moment. Basically, the city council ends up saying, "No, you can't sell the plot, sell the land, and have the house torn down." There's a couple people that stand up for the Broadduses, and they're all like, "Yo, these guys are being mentally tortured here. What's going on?" There's another letter from the Watcher that comes in, by the way, saying that he heard about this plan. But it's basically just the whole city council ragging on them for claiming they're just trying to get rich quick, effectively. He was already rich. Not long after the planning board's decision, the Broadduses got some good news. A family with grown children and 2 big dogs agreed to rent 657 Boulevard. The renter told the Star-Ledger he wasn't worried about the Watcher, though he had a clause in the lease that let him out in case of another letter. 2 weeks later, Derek went to 657 to deal with squirrels that had taken up residence on the roof. The renter handed him an envelope that had just arrived. Violent winds and bitter cold to the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife, Maria. The renter gets a fucking letter from the watcher. Derek and Maria are out at this point. They're just renting out the home to someone else, and now the renter is getting letters. Okay. The letter, 2.5 years after the watcher appeared, came out of nowhere. It was dated February 13th, the day the Broadses gave depositions in their lawsuit against the Woodses. You wonder who the watcher is? Turn around, idiots, the letter read. Maybe you even spoke to me, one of the so-called neighbors who has no idea who the watcher could be. Maybe you do know and are too scared to tell anyone. Good move. The letter was less stylish and more wrathful than the others, and it seemed the writer had been closely following the story. They'd even seen the media coverage. I walked by the news trucks when they took over my neighborhood and mocked me. Derek's superstitious investigatory efforts. I watched as you watched from the dark house in an attempt to find me. Telescopes and binoculars are wonderful interventions. In the attempt to tear down the house, 657 Boulevard survived their attempted assault and stood strong with its army of supporters barricading its gates, the letter read. My soldiers of the Boulevard followed my orders to a T. They carried out their mission and saved the soul of 657 Boulevard with my orders. All hail the watcher. The renter was mentioned. He was spooked but agreed to stay with the Brosses installed cameras around the house, and the letter indicated revenge would come in many forms. Maybe a car accident, maybe a fire, maybe something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away but makes you fall sick every day after day after day after day. Maybe the mysterious death of a pet. Loved ones suddenly die. Planes and cars and bicycles crash. Bones break. What the fuck is happening?
Okay, I have a solution. They could have burned the house down and rebuilt.
That's what I.
They're not allowed to do that. The city council said they can't make any changes.
Well, yeah, but if they don't know, or if they think the fire, like, say the fire is an
So
accident.
you're saying commit insurance fraud and arson is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think insurance covers fires anymore, do they? Because so many people were taking advantage of that.
I don't know the answer to that one. I'll be real.
But yeah, I mean, like, if an accidental fire happens and no one can know, I mean, like, no one really knows.
I mean, yeah, but that's... I don't think you realize how easy it is to tell if an accidental fire is not actually accidental.
Not in the day of the internet.
Yeah, remember, at this point, we're in 2016, 2017 by this timeline, and an affluent part of New Jersey, they had gotten caught.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think that was the last letter from the Watcher. Yeah, so that was the last letter from the Watcher because they decided to say, fuck it. They sold the house at a loss, if I recall. And
yeah, they sold it for about $900,000, which, you know, on a $1.5 million house with $100,000 in renovations, yeah, they took quite the hit on it. So there's no way that they came out on top on this, which is another reason that I don't like people like ripping on the Broadduses.
Well, and that's the thing. To this day, there's people that assume that this was a scam. It was for insurance fraud. They were trying to do a get-rich-quick scheme. Like, with all the money they spent trying to figure this out, they hired private investigators. They fucking got in touch with the FBI. They did... Dude, they would have lost so much money on this scam. How would they ever have turned a profit on it?
They couldn't even keep the renter living there until they agreed to put up security cameras around the house. I mean,
right?
They had basically, you know, I don't know how much more secure they could have made this house.
Krovax has a. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
Krovax has a point. Now that they have a letter threatening fire, blame the Watcher.
Yeah, but the Watcher's made several statements about how he watches the house, he protects it, he cares for it. I mean, I still think, and then also there's no one to charge if it's the Watcher.
Well,
because they don't know who the Watcher is.
Well, yeah, so but that would eliminate any possibility somebody is in there doing something heinous.
You really after we just saw in the Circleville letters case, that dude got put behind bars for 9 fucking years, even though it was very clear it wasn't him.
Yeah, but how does that tie in with, like, saying the Watcher burned the house down?
My point is, it's your word against some amorphous thing that no one's ever caught. The law's not gonna give a fuck about that. Cops, prosecutors, judges, lawyers, they just want someone to fucking punish.
That's another thing too that I'm, you know, speaking as like a very staunch libertarian. If I own the lot on the land, I'll burn the house down and piss on the acids if I want
agree.
to.
I do agree there. But yeah. At the end of all this, the Watcher never caught. has never been caught. No one to this day knows who it was. There was never any forensic evidence found on the letters. No eyelashes, no fingerprints, no DNA, nothing. These are two cases. We've spent the last 2 hours going over two cases where these anonymous letters full of this personal information has terrorized people, and no justice has ever come from it. To this day, well, the Circleville guy probably ain't still out there because it's been, 30, 40 years. But, the Watcher is probably still out there. I don't really know what there is to say about this beyond what are your guys' theories. What chat, you as well. What, at the end of the day, who was this? Do you have theories? Do you have thoughts? Is hokey crazy, kooky, is normal, is apple pie, whatever they may be? Who was the Watcher? That's for you guys as well, not just the chat.
It was what's his face?
Michael, the schizo?
No. It was damn it, what was his name?
What was he in the story? Maybe I can remember.
Oh, it was
his name.
Paul Freshour.
Oh, God damn it. Fuck, he died 2 years before this happened.
Yeah, but that doesn't
what
mean
makes it so scary.
That doesn't mean like you wouldn't have somebody hold your legacy.
No, well, also he was the Circleville guy. He had nothing to do with the.
Yeah. No, that was. Oh, by the way, real quick, we got a chat from Eric Jenkins while we were talking about this. We were so into it, I forgot to mention it. Eric Jenkins says albino baboon. You know what? I'll take that because it means I got a great ass. However. So Hippo says it was the old woman. When you say old woman, I assume you mean like the Langford, the 90-year-old woman. I wonder if they ever tested her DNA. They said that the DNA belonged to that of a woman. Sned, you watch that, you say that, but like I wonder if, because this case blew up. There's been so many true crime podcasts and horror podcasts that have talked about this story. Does the dude turn on fucking YouTube and just beat his meat to how he's never been caught? Who was the HOA president? Well, there wasn't really an HOA. There was just a city council that monitored the city and neighborhood and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, these sorts of cases baffle me. They terrify me because normally on TFH we talk about government conspiracies or ghosts or ancient history, but this is so intimate. This is so personal.
It's malicious. Like like every single one of these. I don't know that besides like people that I've never met, like Hassan Piker, I really don't know that there's anyone like in my life that I hate this much to do this to.
Right? Like I all the effort that would go into this, all the time, plus the fucking risk of when you're caught. This is illegal. You're going to prison for this if you get caught.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, this is the one with the booby trap.
Oh, real quick, Cindy has to go. Do you want to give your final thoughts and your outro, and then me and Sammy will wrap it up when we're ready?
I don't know that I have any final thoughts on this per se, except that, hey, if somebody is sending you strange letters, don't always believe it. If I've gotten one, I probably threw it away and didn't realize. But yeah, guys,
you're gonna get a lot of strange messages being a big titty VTuber. So
I know. But thank you guys for having me, and I do apologize for having to go. I look forward to watching the replay of the end. So guys, take care and have a good one.
Now, are you streaming tonight?
I might be. I'm still trying to fix some stuff with OBS, so I'm hoping I will.
So there may or may not be a Cindy stream tonight, guys. Be posted. Catch you later, girlie. Truly appreciate you.
See y'all soon.
Anyway, what were you saying, bud?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely illegal. I mean, at the very least, this is stalking.
And harassment.
Yeah, and harassment. But well, with the Watcher family, it's stalking. Like the other one was more malicious, where yes, they're very nastily worded. You know what I mean? It's terrible. You might have someone saying like it's libel or slander. You can't really, but I mean, it didn't really sound like as threatening. This is almost threatening to a thing of like a supernatural way of, like the house is calling to me. Yeah, man, I don't know what I would do in this scenario. I really don't. Like,
Bobby Blanchard makes a good point. Since it's through the mail, it'd be federal, right?
I think it would have to be.
Catch you later, Dax. The open road's calling you. I hope you weren't drinking. No, I'm joking, bud. I'm glad you were sufficiently creeped out, though. That's good. That means we did our job right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know what I would do. I don't know how I would react. Yeah, no, Jake's right. It is like urban legend status. It's extremely creepy, and honestly, the worst part about it is like what we talked about, like with the neighborhood, just trying to cover it up because you've
yeah, that speaks to another like just I don't know if evil is the right word, but just a darkness in humans. Like they're so fucking worried about their property value going down. They didn't want to help this clearly in distress family.
Yeah, well, and also like it just shows like you're complicit having a monster in your midst. As long as it doesn't affect your bottom line. Like it's just it's terrible. Like you would much rather lie to yourself and say that like your neighborhood is safe than actually having a safe neighborhood and actually trying to find out who's harassing these people.
What do you think the people in the neighborhood prioritized more? The illusion of safety or the property value in their pocketbook? Like which one was the bigger reason to not help these people?
Well, they go hand in hand, but obviously it's going to be the bottom line, where because if that was the case and they were worried about the safety, they would have had no problem with them knocking down the house and selling the lot. But why wouldn't they let them do it?
Yeah, we showed some of those as well, EB, just because I know you came in a little bit late. We showed those as well. Sorry, continue, Sammy.
No, but I'm saying, so if they were concerned about the safety, why wouldn't they let them just knock the house down and sell the lot? It's because it's going to affect the property value. That's what they cared about.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that entirely. I mean, I'm sure there's a gender split there. I bet that on average, men were probably more worried about the property value, and women were probably in their wives. The women were more worried about the illusion of safety.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, this is one of those things that like this is a real life horror film. Now, obviously, a horror film is going to have the stalker and the watcher actually like showing up and attacking the family. It's going to have a big climax. This doesn't really have that, but this is and this did get a show, by the way. It got a some sort of Netflix adaptation like in 2022. I don't remember if it's Netflix or not, but
yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. If you want to check on that, this is one of those things that, I mean, yeah, someone in the chat, I think it was Jake, someone said this is an urban legend, but these two stories that we covered today actually happened, and that is the insane part to me. Is like very few things on TFH that we've covered can we say with certainty happened, and these ones did, and in both instances, the real perpetrator was never caught. And one of them, some dude took the fall for it, even though it was patently obvious he didn't do it. And on the other hand, the second story, we to this day have no idea who this was. And this is a recent story. This was 2014 through like 2016, 2017.
Yeah,
that's less than 10 years.
Even worse, you showed that a whole community is comfortable with that. Like I personally would have a huge problem with that. I would go to like every HOA meeting, like, hey, are we gonna look for like the weird stalker guy who's or we're just gonna not talk about it? Okay, I'm the asshole.
I've got a buddy. You may have streamed. Have you ever streamed with me when I streamed with None Like Joshua, the rapper, the anime rapper?
Yeah.
So he and I were texting one day. This was like a year ago or something, and he was like, "Yeah, my HOA are a bunch of assholes, so I got chickens because they're not against the AOA, but they're annoying as shit, and I know it's gonna annoy them." I was like, "Oh, that's so based."
Oh, yeah. Anytime where you can stick it to the HOA, like I think I went to like one meeting and they were talking about things and they're like, "Oh, this might have to raise the boat." It was like, "Oh no, who will put Christmas lights on the subdivision sign now?" Like, because when I moved in, I wasn't aware that we had one, and then all of a sudden I started getting notices. Like, I don't know, and I went to him and was like, they're like, "Why haven't you paid us?"
Watching on Kick, we appreciate it. We're actually very new to streaming on Kick, and we truly appreciate you dropping by, man.
Oh, you're on Kick too?
We started Neon Leon this past Monday was my first official, technically second, but first official Kick stream. So we're doing Neon Leon, Countercast, and Tinful of Haters will always be on Kick. Sunday special will probably stay YouTube exclusive.
In other news, this week was the first one I had on Kick.
Nice. That's awesome.
But I'm still trying to figure out Rumble.
I follow you on Kick. I didn't know that you had a Kick.
Yeah, samesies. But yeah, no, so they kept sending me messages. I had to go down there because they wanted like this obscene amount of money because like I was like late on a couple of payments and going like, this is my like brochure when I brought the house. It says no HOA. And they're like, all right, like we'll drop it, but like I've been at odds with them ever since like I moved into the house because like that was like my first interaction with them. When I see like these waspy people going like, no, you can't have this weird you can't burn down the weird possibly haunted house because that's going to bring down the property value. It's like, oh, dude, screw you. Like you guys are complicit in crime. Here, let me copy that. Oh, you should have figured. Be words of
I guess we're more or less at a wrap on this episode. I mean, there are real monsters out there. I think both these stories show that, and yeah, I mean, I like what Eric Jenkins said for here we go for the $1.99 super chat. It said, "When in doubt, blame the CIA." Well, first of all, that's based. Let me give you your clip for that real quick because yes, I completely agree. When in doubt, almost always blame the CIA.
I fuck one of the robot dogs.
Or the FBI or any other three-letter agency. That being said, this is one of those rare instances where no, the government and blame. Well, first of all, I guess you can blame the local city government for treating these people as such, but in all reality, this is what we assume is an individual. This might not have even been an individual. This could have been a team of people with some sort of coordinated effort. That's another thing is in the case of the Watcher, we don't know. We know nothing aside from what seems like the ramblings of a madman who gave this house power. I mean, he could have been lying about his father and grandfather.
Yeah,
it's such a strange case, but we got nothing to go off of, and that's the scariest part about all this is we don't have an. I feel like we actually made more headway when talking about the weather controlling apparatus.
Absolutely.
HARP. Right? That was what it was called, HARP?
Yes. Right?
Like, that's... We made more headway when we were more or less uncovering that the government does actually have weather manipulation technology than we made in this two cases about these letters. One
of them spanning over, 40, 50 years. And it's still, HARP. Thank you, Ryan. It's upsetting. I will say this is probably one of my favorite episodes that we've done, just because these cases are so interesting, because no one's made any headway on them, and we love our conspiracies on there, especially with the Watcher. I can't remember who said it in chat, but I mean, even just revisiting it today.
DM me more info, lunatic. Sorry,
but
continue.
when you mentioned Circleville earlier, I thought you were talking about Watcher.
I had the two flipped in my head, and that's why I was like, "Well, fuck it, we're gonna do both." But
I mean,
but there are literally
by the way, hundreds
so you guys
of theories.
this Watcher case is technically still open. It's not being investigated anymore because the cops don't fucking care. But this case is technically still open by the town police. I don't remember the name of the town now that we're off the page, but
yeah, but I'm saying there's hundreds of theories on this. Like, you know, I mean, it just breeds. It's perfect for like what we do. Is just there's so many different cases of like different types of speculation on this. It's insane.
But with all that being said, 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's time for us to wrap up. We've taken off our tinfoil hats and we're going back to our real lives where we mostly talk about nerd culture, gaming, anime, the whole nine. Sammy, tell the people who you are and what you do.
Sammy Threepeat. I'm the other half of Tinfoil Haters. You can find me on Twitter. Oh yeah, third now. But yeah, just look me up on Twitter. All my stuff's on there. I'm on Kick. I'm on YouTube. I'm trying to get my Rumble started, but otherwise, yeah, I hang out with this guy every Tuesday. Leon, what are you doing this week, my brother?
Got a video coming up tomorrow. I'm going to be reacting to the most recent Shoe-On Head video. I have not seen it yet. I saw she put one out, and I watch every Shoe-On Head video I have for like damn near a decade now. I'm a huge Shoe-On Head fan. So I saw she put out a video. Going to react to that. That's going to be out tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday. I may or may not be on Zach's show. It depends on if he asks me, but usually I'm on What's Good Wednesday. Thursday, we've likely got, as long as I'm not busy at work, we've got the show with Hold My DualShock. Friday is, of course, Inside the Badger Den and Neon Leon. Our guest is Mizu, a fantastic YouTuber who it'll be my first time truly working with them. That'll be great. And from there, you guys just know, watch out for videos, hopefully nearly every day. And yeah, Shu has always been pretty level-headed. I like Shu quite a bit. Beyond that, I just want to say thank you to those of you that donated. We got a lot of donations tonight. Don't let the bar fool you. While this nifty little donation bar here, it only tracks super chats, and so you guys did awesome with super chats tonight. Thank you so much. You truly don't need to. It means the world to me. It doesn't track gifties, but I know several of you sent gifties as well, and that's always appreciated. So you don't need to. You do. It means the world to me. And beyond that, for those of you that can't or don't, that's also a-okay. It's just great having you here in the chat, especially when we do take a break from pop culture, from politics, from wokeness, from video games and anime, to really break into true crime and conspiracies and aliens and all that stuff that we love, but doesn't really usually warrant the type of content we make, or at least that I make in the regular day-to-day videos. So thank you so much. And remember, it's all here in the Nerdosphere, and this has been Words of Paradise.